Okay, two things. One, that lamp is going to be in the video the whole time. Sorry, I couldn't tell on the monitor that it was in the frame. And number two, sorry for my awkwardness. I'm working on it. It's only my second video, so bear with me. Still be my friend.
Time about the time that my boyfriend left me in the hospital. Yes, it was a whole situation, guys. So we're going to get into it, but I'm going to start off the story with like some backstory so you can understand the relationship, because this situation literally happened like at the end of our relationship. So I just want to give some backstory so that it makes sense, because it wouldn't make sense if I just jumped into the whole story. Anyway, I'm battling at this point, so I'm just go on with the story. This was like, I want to say maybe 3 years ago. So 3 years ago from 2018. So I'm going to say like 2015. This guy comes into my job one day, and he like, I think he needed like he was looking for like a particular hoodie, like a soccer ball or whatever. So I was like helping him or whatever, and it was like it was like around this time of the year, like maybe like February, March, April-ish, because it's like it was starting to pick up, but it was like real slow that day, I remember. So I was like helping him out personally, whatever. I'm like, oh, it was really cool, like super, super nice. But you know, like especially when you work in retail, you know when like you have a customer that's like interested in you, or like a customer that's like hitting on you or whatever. So like at the end he was like, oh, like let me add you on Facebook, because he was like telling me something about like some sneakers or something. I had like ulterior motives, but I was like, okay, cool, whatever. Now at the time I was like on a break. I was broken up with my boyfriend or whatever, so I was just like, I really wasn't thinking nothing of it. Like I wasn't thinking like, oh, this is about to be like my boyfriend, blah blah blah. So long story short, he adds me on Facebook, he DMs me, say maybe a month later, I would say, he reached out to me and was basically like trying to like pursue me to like take me on a date or whatever. So I was like, well, right now like I'm on a break from my boyfriend or whatever, but we still communicate, so I don't really like know how he would feel. Actually, I do know how he would feel about that. He would have been really mad. So I was like, no, like I'm good or whatever. So we ended up like not getting back together for a while. So I was like, okay, fine. So I just reached out to him, and he was super, super cool and super nice. And he's like way older than me. So he was cool. It was cool. It was whatever. But when we finally started talking, I was like, yeah, like I want to like go on a date. Like I don't want to just be just like chatting on Messenger all the time. Like that's so, to me it's so stupid, and it's so like indicative of the times that we are in right now. And I think it's slow. Like I'm not down for that shit. I'm not about to be DMing you all the time. That's dumb. I'm not beat for it. So he always had an excuse, like, oh, I'm doing something with my children, or I have to do something with my, it was like always an excuse. It's like, are you a drug dealer on the side or something? Like, are you living a double life? Like, it was like that. It was like literally every time there was an excuse. So I just got tired, and I ended up getting back with my ex anyway. So I was like, whatever. So we didn't talk, but we still had each other like on social media and stuff. So you know, you just like remain friendly with people. So it was just like, it was like whatever, like we just remained friendly. So it was super cool. So like 2 years later, I ended up I was still with the same guy, but we had recently like just broke up, and it was right after Christmas, and he DM'd me, and I honestly, I could go back in the DMs, but I really don't care that much. I forget what he DM'd me about, but it was like something like hitting on me basically. And I was just like, you know what, I just broke up with my boyfriend, like honestly, what could it really hurt? So I just was like conversing with him. It was cool. Like, it's like when you're in like a relationship that's like not that great or whatever, and you get out of it, and someone does everything that you wish that person had done, I feel like sometimes if you're not in the right state of mind, it can make you a little like vulnerable. But it was great because he was like super consistent, which my ex was not consistent at all. So he was super consistent with like texting me in the morning, or like asking me how my day was and like stuff like that. It was like, but in a weird way, it was like everything I wanted, but not everything I wanted. Because it's like someone can text you in the morning, someone can make you be like, oh, like you're really beautiful, but at the end of the day, sometimes people just do those things because it's what they think that they're supposed to do. Like there's a lack, he definitely had a lacking in his emotionality. Like, I feel like he did those things because it's like what society tells him that you're supposed to do. Like, you're supposed to text your girlfriend in the morning, blah blah blah, whatever. Not that we were together at the time, but it is what it is. So long story short or whatever, he was just very consistent, and I started to be more open to the idea. And it's funny because like I didn't have his number saved at all. Like, even when I had him on Facebook and he had given me his number, I never saved his number. Gabby actually convinced me. She was like, oh my god, like, you've been talking to this guy for 2-3 months and you still haven't saved his number. I'm like, no, what is the point? So Gabby finally convinced me to like save his number. So fast forward, I started like really consistently talking to him like around my birthday, so like the end of January. So fast forward to like the end of March when Gabby and I went to Miami. So Gabby and I went to Miami, and it just happened that like I was talking to him or whatever, and I didn't know that he had like went to school down there, so I guess he was like familiar with the area. And I've been to Florida before, but that was my first time to Miami, which is like completely different. If you've never been to Miami, it could be a little bit overwhelming, let me tell you. So he was just really cool, and it was just like, I guess seeing how excited he was about it, and like how excited he was to like tell me to go places or like places to eat or whatever, like it just made me feel nice. And I was like, you know what, this guy really is trying. Like, I'm gonna be more like into it. Like, I'm gonna actually give him the time of day. So I, whatever, like just was opening up myself to being vulnerable, to being with someone again. And Gabby was like, oh, like, I can tell that you really like talking, everything. Like, I was really starting to open up with him, which I really don't do. I'm not really an emotional person. So that was like really, it was really dope. So when I came back, I was like, I have to meet up with you. Like, this whole Phantom of the Opera shit you got going on is a dub. Like, I don't like it. I'm not beat for it. So I finally met up with him. So it was like, I wish I could do it every year. So I was in Miami for like almost 2 weeks. So when I came back, it was like the beginning of April. So I finally met up with him. And we didn't go on like a date. We just like met somewhere or whatever. And we had like an encounter or whatever. So it was cool because I just, he was just genuinely a nice person. So whatever. But then it was just like, after we met that time, everything that I didn't like about him before when I had started talking to him started to come out again. Like, he started being like inconsistent but still consistent. Like, I was still getting the text messages, still getting the FaceTimes, this and that, but then it would be like, oh, I'm supposed to hang out with you Tuesday, but then it would be like Tuesday would come and we were supposed to be hanging out at 1:00, and I'm looking at my watch, it's 3:00, and you still haven't reached out to me. Like, it was just like stuff like that was starting to get on my nerves, because when I say I'm gonna do something, I genuinely am going to do it, and if I cannot do it, there's a definite reason. Whatever, he just started doing stuff like that to me. He did it to me multiple times. So finally I told him, I was like, you're a dub. Like, I'm just done with this whole situation. Like, I'm not gonna keep wasting my time on someone, because I feel like people make time for the things that they want to make time for. Even if you have multiple commitments, you have multiple children, you go to school, you have a full-time job, blah blah. I have 2 jobs. I'm a full-time matter to me. And I still do whatever I can to go out of my way to make those people feel special. And I just didn't ever feel like I was really getting that from him. So I was annoyed. And at this point, it had been like 4 months of you just ducking and dodging me. And I was just not beat for it. So I remember this one day that, I think it's called Dip and Scoop around here. Yeah, it's a Dip and Scoop because it just opened up one in the city or whatever. And it's like a donut place. Like, I guess it's like a bakery or whatever. But I love donuts, and he likes donuts. So he was like, yeah, like, I'm going to make it up to you. I'm going to take you to the Dip and Scoop, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, this is cute. Because I like dates that, like, there's thought in it. Like, I like donuts, so that's cute. You're going to take me to Dip and Scoop. You know what I'm saying? Like, dates that are just so generic sometimes really aggravate me. Like, I really don't have the time. So earlier in the day, I had seen him, we hung out or whatever, and then he ended up getting like a text or whatever from his mom. She needed him to run all these errands, blah, blah, blah. That's a whole other situation. So he's like, okay, I'm going to go do that, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to go. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I get all dressed and I get all ready or whatever. And by this time it was like 3 hours had passed, because it takes me like an hour and a half to get ready. So like 3 hours had passed, and I'm like, okay, so like when are you gonna come? Like when are you gonna, get here? And he was like, oh, blah blah blah, like I'm getting tied up, blah blah blah, like all these excuses. And I was just like, at this point I was just like, I was done. I was so annoyed with the situation. So I was like, you know what, like I waited around for you all day. Like I could have done something completely different. I waited around for you. You're a dub. I'm done with you. Like what? Like I'm done with that whole situation. Oh, and what I had forgotten to say was like the whole time we were in Miami, he was like, yeah, like when you come back, like I'm gonna plan this like really romantic date. Like I want to show you all the things that no one ever showed you before. Like I really want to put in that time and that effort, and like all of these things that like I had shared with him. He was like making these making these promises that these would be things he would be able to do, and clearly he wasn't doing them. And I was just like annoyed at that point. Like you're not gonna keep me around. Like I'm not a mouse. That's just not how it goes, or whatever. So then his birthday comes, and his birthday is like the end of May. Geminis. So his birthday is like the end of May or whatever. So I was like, okay, like we were still trying. I was still definitely trying, because it's like, you know how you just see something in someone and you're just like yes, I think that this could really work with you. Like, I feel like you have all the qualities that I'm looking for, and blah, blah, blah. But it's just like sometimes you just cannot make a triangle fit into a circle. It just don't. I'm the circle, you the triangle. It's not working. Or whatever. So I was annoyed, because I was like, okay, like, are we gonna hang out on your birthday? He's like, yeah, like we're gonna go out, blah blah blah. He ends up falling asleep, and we never went out for his birthday. And I was annoyed, because he was like had a free weekend that whole weekend, and we literally didn't do anything. Like he hung out with his friends. He fell asleep the night we were supposed to hang out, and then Sunday, I guess he was just tired from all his shenanigans that he couldn't hang out with me. So I thought that that was rude too, because I would never ditch my significant other for my friends, especially on like a birthday. Like that's something that you would want to spend with like the person you're dating. So that was confusing to me. And also I got him a birthday present. He didn't even let me wrap it. He literally called me and he was like, oh, did it deliver yet? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, okay, I'm just going to go pick it up off of your porch. Like, he didn't even let me wrap it or, like, be there when he opened it. He literally picked up the package off my porch and took it. I wouldn't have done that, and I thought that was rude. So then after that, I was kind of, like, all summer was, like, it was wishy-washy. We still, to this point, so we started talking in January, so now we're talking, like, after his birthday was the end of May. So now we're talking like June, July. We still to this point had not been on a date. Like we had only ever like hung out in the house. Like we had not been on a date. And I'm not an ugly girl. So at this point I'm like, is sis out here looking funny bunny? Because this is too crazy. Because you don't want to take me out. Like, are you and I asked him several times, like, are you just like embarrassed? Is it weird for you being out with someone like my age? Like, what is it? Like, genuinely, because to me at this point, in 4 or 5 months, if you haven't made time to hang out with someone, you just don't want to hang out with them. And that's Bible. Like, no, you just don't want to hang out with them. Me, it's just like guys, they say that they like crazy, but they don't really like crazy, because if I flatten your tires, you'll be the first one to complain about it and file a police report. I can't deal with you, and I don't have the time. You don't like crazy. You like complicated. You like combative. You don't like crazy. There's a difference. Fucking slow. Just slow. So whatever, all summer I was like, kind of like, you know when you're just not feeling it, but you just don't want to like let it go. And I have a bad habit. Like I just don't know when to peace out at all. I have a terrible, terrible, terrible habit of that. So there was this girl. Okay, first of all, let's give him a name. I did this in my last story time too. His name is going to be Roger. Okay. And then the girl that I'm going to talk about, her name is going to be Isabella. Okay. So Roger and Isabella followed each other. Now, I knew Isabella from high school. Isabella used to be friends with my best friend in high school. And because they were friends, I became friends with her. We were cool or whatever. But Isabella and I kind of had like a falling out in high school. She had moved out because she was older than me. So I went to like her housewarming party, and like everyone was like drinking or whatever. And her sister's girlfriend thought that I was like talking about her, like making fun of her because she was like blackout drunk, but I genuinely wasn't. And she threw a drink on me, and Isabella told me that I had to leave. And I get it, like that was her sister, whatever, like that, but we were friends. And I was young, like I was 17 at the time, so I was underage. You know what I'm saying? Like Ducktown at night, you know what? You don't want to be walking, you know, with your Gucci flip-flops on. You know what I'm saying? So me and her had a falling out about that. So I noticed that they were like liking each other's stuff on Instagram. So I told him about the situation, and I told him, I'm like, listen, I know her and I know how she is. Sis can be a little messy. No offense, Isabella. She can be a little messy. If she DMs you and reaches out to you, you kindly need to decline because you and I are dating and I don't like her. So, and it wasn't even a thing is that I don't like her. She's just wishy-washy. Like, she's one of those really messy type of women. So anyway, so one day I'm at work, and I was working really early in the morning or whatever. So it was like maybe 7 a.m., 8 a.m. in the morning. And I get these messages from him, and he's like, yeah, like, I'm really sorry, but this girl DM'd me on Instagram, and I've been entertaining her, and that's why I've been so distant. So I'm like, I'm annoyed at this point, but then it's also like, don't play games. Like, do not play games. It's not that hard to not DM someone back. I genuinely don't understand. So I was like, so he was like, oh, but I don't want to tell you because I know you're going to be mad. Don't ever do that to a woman. Don't ever say, I don't want to tell you because I know you're going to be mad. Because that's, one, going to make me make up stories, especially me. I'm definitely going to make something up in my head because I'm crazy. And two, it just makes you sound cowardice. Like, don't do something and then not want to admit to it or not want to tell me who it is because you're afraid I'm going to retaliate. What am I, 16? You think I'm going to go knock on her door and punch her in the face? Never going to. If you can take it, sis, it was never mine. So I'm not going to argue with you about it. And that's just facts. I'm not. So I just was like telling him, like, no, I need you to tell me. I need you to tell me. But I knew it was already hurt. Like, I already had the feeling, because a woman's intuition is never wrong. It's never wrong. And I told him, I'm like, listen, I know her. She's very thirsty. So he's like, no, like, I'm not going to tell you. So finally, after me arguing with him, breaking down, like, I'm like, yo, you need to tell me. So he tells me, and I lose my shit, obviously. Because you're not about to play me for no messy ass hoe. It's just not. I mean, she's not a hoe, but you're not about to play me for no, you're not about to, no. She's over here sloppy Joe. I'm over here double quarter pounded with cheese. I mean, there's a difference, okay? It's just, no. So after that, I was like, I'm done with you. And me and him didn't talk for like a while. Like, I want to say like a good month or so. And then obviously, I think he like texted me or DM'd me or something like that. And I was like, you know what? At least he had the decency to tell me. Like, I respect him for telling me. So is there something in my sweatshirt this whole time? I was like, you know what, at least he has the decency to tell me, because a lot of guys wouldn't have even told me. So I'm like, okay, well, I want to know, like, what were you guys talking about? Like, I want to know what you guys did. And he's like, no, like, we never talked, we never met up. Because I'm thinking at this point, you haven't even taken me out on a date, but you talking with shorties in your DMs, and you getting real spicy, and I'm not feeling it. So I'm like, I want to know what y'all were talking about. I want to know what you were doing. He was like, oh, nothing. Like, we were just conversing. And then she invited me over her house to make me dinner. I'm like, her food looks fucking nasty. She be posting it on Instagram. Her food looks terrible. Don't family. And she invited me over. I'm like, I hope you choked on the hot dog. I hope that it got lodged in your throat and they had to do a tracheophlebotomy right there with, you know how they cut it right here and they put a pen and then the blood drains out because you're choking. Like, honestly, I don't care. So I was annoyed about that. And after he told me all that, I was like, I'm done with you, because it's like, you won't even give me the time of day, but you're giving shorty, and you know that I don't like her. And I specifically told you before she DM'd you not to respond. You need to tell her that you're dating me and that it's a dub. Like, and whatever. Like, move on. But of course he didn't, so it is what it is, whatever. So I was done with him after that. It was whatever. Then like a month later, whatever, he DMs me. I was feeling real lonely, sensitive. So I was like, you know what? Did he DM me? So this was like maybe September-ish. And I was like really going through, I was really going through it, just emotionally. I was just going through a lot. So I was like, you know what? It is what it is. Like, I'm going to give him another chance. So fast forward, I have really bad, this is where we get into the hospital part. So I have really bad acid reflux. So my acid reflux was like really bothering me, like really, really bad. So I was like, oh, like I've had ulcers in the past. I was like, oh, I just feel like my ulcers came back, whatever. So I made an appointment with my my gastrologist so that I could get like an endoscopy. So, you know, like they stick the camera down your throat, they can see like your esophagus, your stomach, and all that. So I was like, okay. So I'm like on the phone with him, and I'm like, listen, like I'm gonna be under anesthesia. Like, I'm gonna need someone to pick me up. My mom works, my grandma works, my dad works, my sisters work. Like, I don't want to inconvenience anyone else, and we're dating. You're my boyfriend, so I don't want anyone else to be doing this at this point. Like, I just feel like you need to finally step up to the plate and fucking do something. So I'm gonna need you to take the day off, and I'm gonna need you to take me to the hospital, whatever. So I'm keep reminding him, because like my hospital date was like a month out. So I'm reminding him, whatever. So then it gets to be like 2 weeks before, and I'm like, hey, did you take off the day? He's like, no, I didn't end up taking it off, but it's cool. Like, I'm just gonna call out that day. So I'm like, all right, bet. He was like, yeah, no problem, babe. Like, don't worry about it. I'm definitely going to be able to take you. Like, I know this is really important to you, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, it's fine. So fast forward 2 weeks, and it's the day before my surgery. I'm texting him all day, and I'm like, are you sure you have everything in order? Like, because he has kids or whatever like that. So I was like, are you sure, like, you know, you're going to be able to get the kids to school, blah, blah, blah. And also the situation that sucked is because a lot of times with those, like, those surgeries, whatever, they don't call you until the day before with the time of your surgery. They literally didn't call me until like Wednesday afternoon at like 3 o'clock to let me know what time. And it ended up being early in the morning, which he had to take his kids to school. So I let him know to make sure that he had ample time to, like, you know, figure out that situation or whatever. So I tell him, and I don't hear from him for hours. Like, I literally texted him as soon as they called me. It was like maybe 3 o'clock. And I didn't hear from him until like maybe it was 9:30 or something like that. And he was like, oh, my bad, babe. Like, I just got overwhelmed with like work or something. Whatever. I really don't care at this point. Like, I just want to know, are you going to be able to take me? And he's like, yeah, no problem. Like, I'm going to be able to take you. Didn't hear nothing else after that. Like, what time are you going to pick me up? Nothing. So then I get like a text message. It's like maybe 3 or 4. And no, I was like 4 o'clock in the morning. Mind you, my surgery was set for 8 a.m. So it's 4 hours before my surgery at this time. He texted me and he's like, yeah, like, I don't have anyone to take the kids to school. I'm like, what do you mean you don't have anyone to take the kids to school? At this point, you've had ample time to figure it out. And if you figured out that you didn't have any other thing to do, you could have called me. I could have asked them to give me a later time. Or you just could have told me that you couldn't do it. But don't wait until 4 hours before my surgery. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. And now I'm supposed to find someone to take me to the hospital. Like, are you slow? So then he ends up falling asleep. Didn't say nothing to me. So then I wake up. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. Still haven't heard from him. Mind you, surgery's at 8. 7 o'clock in the morning, still haven't heard from him. So I'm like, all right, whatever. So I take a shower. I'm like getting ready. So it's like 7:25. And I text him. I'm like, what time do you think you're gonna be here? He's like, I don't know. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? My surgery is at 8 o'clock. What do you mean you don't know what time you're gonna be here? He's like, I don't know what time I'm gonna be here because I have to take the kids to school and I have to attribute in the time of like traveling between both schools and the buses and the this and the that, and I don't know, and there's always traffic, so I don't know what time I'm gonna be there. I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm just gonna figure out my own way there since you want to act slow. You do the same thing every morning. You can't calculate approximately what time. I just want to know so that I can let them know, hey, I'm going to be 30 minutes late. Hey, I'm going to be an hour late. Hey, can you put me in for this afternoon? Because sometimes if you show up too late, they just won't do it. So he's like arguing me. He's like, whatever, Hallie, you can just figure it out yourself then. So I'm like, excuse me? Like, why would you say that to someone, like, right before I'm going to have surgery, like, I'm going to be put under anesthesia, and then you're, like, making it seem like I'm the crazy one, like, I'm the one that did something wrong for coming at you. No, you were not an adult about this situation, and you didn't do what you were supposed to do, and you did not communicate adequately and efficiently, so you're not going to try to play me like Bozo the Clown. Obviously, first of all, I was really upset, because I hadn't eaten. I like food, and sis was starving. So I'm like, I call Gabby, and I'm like, crying. She comes over here, and she ends up like being late for work to like take me to the hospital. So I texted him, and I'm like, listen, I know that you're having a situation, but I still really need someone because I can't, like, getting there wasn't necessarily the issue, but after you're under anesthesia, they will not release you unless you have someone pick you up, and they physically have to put you in the car because you can't drive after anesthesia. So whatever. So I'm like, I need you to come and still pick me up. So after you figure out your situation, you do all your drop-offs, because the procedure is really quick. I'm like, I need you to still pick me up. So I gave him the address, everything, told him the room I was in and everything. So I get there, and I'm like waiting around. I'm filling out my paperwork. I'm like, most definitely, like, he's going to come. Like, why would he not come? So I'm like, most definitely, like, he's going to come. Like, he's going to figure out. I'm texting him. I'm calling him. Nothing. No responses. Nothing. So then I'm like, you know what, Hallie, you're going to wake up. He's going to be there. He's going to help you, whatever. Because, like, sometimes you have, like, a really sore throat or there's vomiting and stuff like that. Like, you don't really feel good afterwards. So I'm like, you know what, it's going to be fine. So I get there, do the paperwork. They take me under. I go back by myself, whatever. So luckily or whatever, I had called my aunt. So my aunt was like, oh, I'm going to come over, blah, blah, blah. So I go under the anesthesia. I'm like, when I wake up, he's definitely going to be there. So I come back from the procedure, and I wake up, and guess what? Wasn't there. Never came. He never showed up. He never showed up. So, like, literally, if my aunt hadn't come, like, for moral support, I literally would have had no way home because my entire family was at work during that time because it was literally during the middle of the day. So, he never showed up. He never checked on me to make sure that I even made it out of the procedure because you never know when people go under anesthesia. And then I literally didn't hear from him all day. So, then the next day, he went to my sister's job. Mind you, he doesn't know that my sister works there. So he went to my sister's job, and my sister was like, oh yeah, I seen such and such. So then I get this message from him, like, yeah, like I had a whole situation yesterday, and I just didn't feel like being bothered with anyone. So I just went home. I just went, and I went out with my grandma. I went to go talk to my grandma. Now, don't get me wrong. My grandma's my best friend, too. Like, I love my grandma to death. But how old are you? 15 and a half? Like, what? That doesn't even make any sense. Like, you couldn't have even made sure that I got out of surgery. Like, you're a piece of shit. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you're a shitty person. Like, he never would have texted me if he hadn't seen my sister. So then after that whole he texted me, he never texted me back. Like, I responded to the message, and he never texted me back. So then it was literally 3 weeks later, 3 weeks after my surgery, that I heard from him again. And then he told me about, like, you know, the situation and what was going on, which I'm not going to get into because that's not my business, and I'm going to respect his privacy on that. But yeah, so basically that's the time of when I wasted an entire year of my life with someone that was just not emotionally capable of being in a relationship, and instead of just saying that, just dragged me along for a year, and then at the end of it with the cherry on top, left me in the hospital and never even checked on me to make sure that I made it alive after anesthesia. So if you think that you have it tough, sis, thank God you're watching this video. Because sometimes it's like it's getting sticky like honey. Like, I don't know how many L's I could take. I'm taking so many L's right now. I'm feeling like Wiz Khalifa. It's too crazy. There's no way in the possible earth that I should be letting these... There's no way on God's green earth that I should be letting all these trolls play me. I gotta start being more tougher. And so do you, sis. So, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. I think the next story time I'm going to be doing is also like an ex-boyfriend story time, but it's going to be about my boyfriend from high school. If you guys are sick of the boyfriend story times, please let me know in the comments or my Instagram. I will put my Instagram probably like right here, or I'll put it like right here, something like that. If you're tired of them, then I'll give them a break, and I can do like other story times. Like, I have plenty of stories. My life has been very eventful. I've been very blessed these 23 years of life. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Peace out, Girl Scout. By the way, Tupac or Biggie? Let me know down below. Tupac or Biggie? Because we already know where I'm going. We already know where I'm going. Bye, guys. By the way, went a little ham with the bronzer. Not this brown.